Hello. So this is the router that I used to have, and it's a D-Link DIR-655. It's a wireless router, and it has, of course, the regular LAN ports. And this router is getting quite old. It's from 2007, and this was when the wireless N network was quite new, and it wasn't even really done yet, the protocol, so to speak. But it was basically done. So it's called a draft N. So the speed isn't that great, and I'm having some issues with this router. And one of them is that when I actually use a tablet or whatever, it will drop the connection now and then. And the speeds on it isn't that great either, the wireless. And another issue is that when I upload videos to YouTube, the download speed goes down the drain. I can't watch any streams on Twitch or any YouTube videos. It will buffer all the time, which is kind of weird. So I actually decided to dust off this old notebook that I have. It's a Compaq Presario X1000. The precise model number is X1007EA. It's the European model because I live in Sweden, and Sweden is a part of Europe. And I also found out that this computer actually have a PCM-CIA slot a while back, and I actually got a sort of network card, which is a PCM-CIA slot version. So I connected that, and then I actually installed a firewall called pfSense. It's based on FreeBSD, which kind of is a Linux distribution. Kind of. Not really, but it's kind of Unix Linux thing. And it actually works really great on this old computer. And this computer is from 2003. It has a single core, no hyperthreading CPU. It's 1.4 gigahertz, 2 gigs of RAM, and a hard drive. And it's an IDE hard drive, actually, not even SATA. It's an IDE 160 gigabyte hard drive. So what I did was to actually plug in the internet, my ISP, to the back on it. It has a 100 megabit LAN port, not even gigabit. And then I connected the second LAN port here to a 5-port switch. And pfSense is actually working really great on this old computer. And I'm going to show you a little bit how the interface looks like. And when everything is installed and set up, and I might do a video about that later on, how you install it and configure it. It's very easy, actually. But when you type the IP address, the LAN port for it, it's like a regular home router box. And you get this interface. And the default settings for this is the user admin. And the default password is pfSense. But I suggest you actually change that, which I have done. And this is how it looks for me right now. But the first time you log in to this, you will only have a widget called interfaces. But I actually deleted that for this video because it will show IP address for my WAN port. It's basically my public IP, so I'm not going to show you that. But you can actually add different widgets over here, whatever you want. And I actually added this interface statistics so that you can show the amount of data going through the WAN port or the router. And I also got this traffic graphs, show you how the internet is. And I haven't really changed that much on it. And I might do a series of videos how to set things up, like the DNS service here, and how not to use your ISP DNS. But here's just basic information about, the system, so to speak. And I'm running the latest version 2.32, patch 1. And I use the 32-bit version here because this CPU, or the CPU in this computer, is only 32-bit. And you can see how the uptime here as well, and also the memory usage, and it's updated every 5 seconds, or the CPU usage at least. And you can see it doesn't really consume that much memory. You can see that it's 2 GB of RAM that I have, and it only uses like 4% of it, and that's like 100 megabytes. Also the disk usage, the amount of storage it uses. So yeah, and it has a bunch of settings here. I can go to like advanced here. So you can see there's a lot of things you can set and change. And every time you do a setting here, you need to press the save button. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with it just by default. So yeah, you can see the information about the LAN ports, and Opt1 is basically the built-in wireless. So you can actually have this as a wireless access point as well. I haven't tried that yet, but yeah. And the firewall, bunch of stuff here, services, DHCP stuff, and the VPN. You can have different status of things. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do with this. And it has a thing called Gold, pfSense Gold. And it costs money. I think it was like $100 a year or something. And you can synchronize stuff to the cloud or whatever. I don't remember what it was, but of course you got the help. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do with this. And one thing that I actually set up was in the general setup here, I added the DNS, the Google DNS servers. They have 2 of them. And this DNS server override, this was actually checked by default. And it will use actually the DNS servers from your ISP, but I actually unchecked this because I only want to use Google's DNS service. And of course I got the time zone here, and I live in Sweden, so I selected Stockholm in Europe. And yeah, you can do a bunch of stuff here. And what else did I do? Well, I actually changed the, let's see, it was services and the DHP server here. And I changed the IP range. And I actually set it to like 200 like this, because further down here, if you scroll down, you can actually set static mappings for the interfaces, which basically means that you can have sort of DHCP activated on your computer, but you still get a sort of static IP address. So every time you start the computer, it will get the same IP address. As you can see, I also have the wireless router connected to the switch, because I want to have some kind of wireless And yeah, so kind of fun thing to do here. You set up, and these IP addresses need to be sort of outside the range here. It can't be within this IP range, which is kind of the opposite in the D-Link router. The static IPs need to be within this range, but with pfSense it's just the opposite. So that's what I got here. And also, if you want to do some like port forwarding, you actually need to go to firewall and use the NAT. And here you can see I actually added a port forwarding to my Minecraft server, which is on a different computer. And it's kind of quite easy to do. We just press the add here. And the only thing I actually change is like the protocol here. I use the server, just TCP and UDP. And you can select a specific, like for FTP or whatever. It will automatically open that port, but I have a specific IP or port for my server. And what you do is just type like this and 69. And what you do, I copy this and you paste it over here as well. And also in the redirect target port over here. And then you need to type the IP address to the other computer. So just 1.12, let's say, like that. And you can put a description, like MC server, and the rest is default, and you press save. And you need to apply those changes up here. And that is done. And you can see that's MC server here. And you also need to check that it actually created a firewall rule for it. So you get firewall and rules. And here you can see it added that rule to the firewall as well. And if you want to delete port forwarding, you just press the recycle bin here. Okay, and apply changes. So it's pretty easy to port forward, and it automatically remove that rule as well. So yeah, it's working really well. The GUI is really fast as well, even though it's a really old computer. And also when I'm using this computer as the firewall / router, it's actually fixed the upload issue or the download problems when I upload YouTube videos. And it's really fast. And also I don't have as much as buffering on Twitch and stuff like that either. So yeah, I'm actually thinking of using this computer as a router or firewall. And this old notebook, it only consumes like 30 watts of power from the wall. So it doesn't really consume that much power either. So that's really nice. And it's when the CPU is like 100%, it consumes like 40 watts or 42 watts. So yeah, that's kind of nice. And the more powerful, router boxes usually consume a lot of power as well. They consume like between 15 and 30 watts as well. So yeah, I'm actually thinking of sticking with this, having this computer as a router, because it's working really well. And as I said, it has a lot of functionality with it, and I have to learn a lot of stuff. And one thing, kind of nice thing with this pfSense is that you can actually have plugins, and you have this package manager here. And I don't have anything installed here right now, And I guess you need some RAM if you're going to have a bunch of packages installed. So here you go, and there's a lot of different packages that you can just install. And I have no idea what all of these things are, or what they mean. But one package that I heard of is called Squid. And it's down here. It's a high-performance web proxy cache, which means that when you download files, a copy of that file will actually be stored on the router itself, on the hard drive, the built-in hard drive. And it works really well with the Windows updates as well. It's supposed to work. So when you actually install or download Windows updates on one machine, it will be stored on the firewall itself. So if you use another computer and run Windows update on that, it will actually download the update from the firewall instead of from Microsoft. So if you have like a data cap on your internet, this will save a lot of data. So that's kind of a thing I want to try out. And it also speeds up the downloads for the other computers as well, because it will be on the LAN. So it's a gigabit connection, so the updates will be downloaded pretty quick. So, but yeah, that's kind of a fun thing to try out, these plugins later on. And this is pretty new to me, and I'm a little bit of a semi-noob when it comes to networking. So yeah, I need to learn a lot about these different things that you can actually set up here. So yeah, but that's kind of a little bit of a first look on this. And yeah, I might do a lot more videos about this when I start to learn how to do stuff, but this works really well. So yeah, just log out and I see you later.